obviously today I'm not going to have to check because you all have all done it. Your reviews, I want to see those before I leave today. So your reviews for Napoleon Dynamite, they're all done. I'll check those out. For those that have contacted me, thank you. Not a problem at all. You can finish them up when you can. It's as simple as that. If you haven't got them done by today and you've contacted me and you've told me why, I'm going to be fine with it. I'm going to be happy and dandy and I'm going to talk about puppies. But if you haven't and you have no good reason, then you guys will be sitting at recess and we'll chat about that. So that's your review. Obviously the review is very important to have done because it's going to give you context on moving forward. Okay? Like we said at the very, very, very start, the easiest way to understand something like this, like a movie, how it's constructed and how it's put together, is if you actually pull one apart, which is the whole point of that review. And it also did some English stuff in there as well. Okay, so we're going to move on. I'm not going to dwell on that right now because I'll be seeing those people later. We're going to move on to actually starting to make our movie. Okay, and by our movie, I mean your teen movie. That's the genre we're going to stick with. Alright, I've stuck with that genre because we know it. You're technically teenagers, so hopefully you know what it is that you are. And it will help you. It'll help you in kind of getting your ideas on paper and kind of figuring out what you're going to do. So, what we're going to be looking at first is a screenplay. Does anyone know what a screenplay is?
Yeah.
That's when you answer. What's a screenplay? What do you think a screenplay is? Someone, Josh.
A screenplay is basically writing down what's gonna happen instead of it's sort of like a script for a play, but it has extra stuff like what moves in it as well.
Okay, yeah. Anyone else want to add on to Josh's definition of a screenplay, Fred?
Sort of like what Josh said, the script, but also what the scenes are, or what the camera angles are.
Cool, yeah, we're getting there. Anyone else? But we know it's tied to a movie, yeah? Like a screenplay, you don't have a screenplay for a book. Or you don't have a screenplay for an album, a music album. It's very tied to it. Let's just go in here. Alright, let me tell you what it's about. So, a screenplay is not, alright, this is what a screenplay is not. Alright, it's not a play. Okay, it's not a play. It's not a stage production. Alright? And it's not a novel. Okay, it's definitely not a book. How you write a book. It's completely different. Alright, unlike the novelist who has complete freedom to explore any point of view, shift between consciousness and subconscious mind, explore a character, all this kind of stuff, the screenplay must write in present tense and only what the audience can see and hear. This is the key. This last line here, which I can do some, let's see if I can do it with one hand. I can, and we can add a note, important stuff here. Alright, so the screenwriter, that's the person who writes a screenplay. Okay, so if you write a screenplay, you're a screenwriter. Now this is a job, this is a profession. Alright, people do this, that's their whole job is to write screenplays. When you watch the Oscars, there will be an Oscar for best screenplay. Alright, the person who writes the best screenplay actually gets an award for it. So the person who writes that story for that movie, okay, so you can have adaptions as well. So let's say something like, I'm trying to think of a recent movie that was based on a novel. Someone give me one.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. Okay, good one. So Harry Potter was a novel originally, yeah? It was originally a book. Okay, so it originally was a novel. Alright, it originally was a novel. So it was written by a novelist. Okay, now when they made the movie for Harry Potter, what they couldn't just actually get that book, because it's a damn big book, okay, and just do everything that's in that book on the screen. I mean, my wife made me watch Harry Potter, I fell asleep. Could you imagine if that thing had every single detail that was in that book? It would go for 7 years, alright? It would be the longest movie ever. You would probably still like it. I wouldn't, dragons are weird. But what they had to do is a person, so what did we say that person was called? Screenwriter. Okay, what he's done is he or she, sorry, I didn't actually check who did the screenplay for Harry Potter. They have gotten the book, they've bought the rights to it for one, and it cost a bomb, alright, and then they've looked at that book and they've read it and they've gone, alright, how do we turn this into a movie? And they've rewritten it as a screenplay, okay? So that's why, obviously, Harry Potter 1, I don't even know what it's called, the first Harry Potter book and the first Harry Potter movie, there's probably going to be lots of differences, yeah? There's going to be bits in the book that aren't in the movie. And there's going to be bits in the movie that aren't in the book. So, why would they do that? When they already had a book and had everything there, why would they spend all this time and money to then rewrite it as a screenplay? Why would they take stuff out? Why would they add stuff? wouldn't work. Like when you read a book is designed for you to read it. You've got plenty of time. You're not going to have to go through it in 2 hours. You can come and go as you please. Okay, so it can put as much detail in there as it wants because it's not restricted to time. Movies, mostly, 120 minutes. That's a long movie. Okay, that's 2 hours. That's a long movie. They're normally about 80 minutes. A little bit less. Okay, that's your standard movie length. Though with the big blockbusters these days, like I think the latest Superman movie went for about 7 hours. Don't quote me on that. It was pretty long. Lord of the Rings is obviously really, really long. Those kind of movies are getting a lot longer. But generally, you're going for that 2 hours and under is your sweet spot. Anything more than that, I mean, you don't want to sit in a theatre for 2 hours. Okay, because you got the people opening popcorn and it's noisy. And you go to the toilet. Anyway, so what they have to do, and it's expensive. The longer the movie, the more money it costs. What they do is they look at that book and they cut it, they take bits out that wouldn't work on the screen, okay, and they add stuff as well. Like, for instance, if you've got a really, really long range of books, I don't know, like, give me a big, huge book series that was made into a movie.
Harry Potter.
It's not Harry. Let's get another example here.
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games. Okay, so in the Hunger Games, they can, which I've actually read, believe it or not. So in the Hunger Games, when they wrote that book, okay, they could spend as much time as they wanted to introduce the character of Katniss, yeah? Like they could spend hours talking about her backstory and how she grew up and where she lived. Ooh, I like that boy, but I don't. They could do that, but in the movie, they haven't got that time. If they spent like 4 hours just saying Katniss likes flowers and stuff, you would be gone. So they have to somehow summarize all that information in like 20 minutes. Her whole backstory, everything's there, which is why they have a lot of flashbacks and stuff like that. So that's the screenplay. They've got to do a lot of that kind of work. All right, they have to do that. But here's the key. So we go back to here. The screenplay, blah, 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 blah. So only what the audience can see in here. So everything in a screenplay is only what you can see and hear. All right? So, for instance, they won't be writing in a screenplay, and then Katniss thought of unicorns. If you can't see it, you don't write it. Okay? So a screenplay, it really is like a visual representation of what is on the screen. It's everything you see in here. That's it. Okay? It's your entire movie in words. All right? So is that a little bit confusing?
No.
No? Oh, okay, that's cool then. All right, let me show you. I've got a few examples here. Okay, so I'll show you why I've got record wrap up there in a sec. So here's a couple of keywords. So a screenplay is visual. Okay, it's very visual. Even though it's in words, it's still visual. Okay. Does anyone want to have a guess at how that makes sense?
It does.
Just is.
No one's no. No? Oh, wow, it's Monday morning, blue. So the way it's written is very visual. It will literally say what you are seeing. Okay, we'll get to it in a second. The playwright, on the other hand, doesn't have to worry about the visual medium. Okay, so often a play is simply a handful of characters. Do you guys ever go to plays, or you don't really care for plays? Not in the.
You mean like theatre?
Yeah, like the college musical. So screenplays, playwriters don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. Okay, like all the standing there on the barrel. So dialogue, music, lighting, all right, high-speed car chases, all that kind of stuff are in movies. All right, so these are all the things that they have to write about. They have to write about the high-speed car chase. They have to be visual and explain it. All right, so we'll get to that in a second. So there are many parts to building a screenplay. So it is a mistake to think you can just sit down and write one. It's really hard just to go, I'm just going to write a screenplay. Because essentially what you're doing is just sitting down and writing a movie. It's pretty hard to do. A screenplay, like an automobile, just thought I'd get a car reference in there because I've been listening to this car podcast at the moment, has many components. They must be arranged and fastened in the right places. Okay, there are thousands of parts to a car, as in the case with the construction of a screenplay. See what it is there? However, all of those thousands come from these 10 major building blocks. All right, Joshua Collins. Mm-hmm. So 10 major building blocks make up a screenplay. This is what you will be doing. This is what you need to concentrate on. All right, story and character is number one. Like we talked about with all our movies, mostly, let's say 9 times out of 10, a movie is about a story. Is a story. Okay, so something going on, something's happening in that 2 hours that hopefully starts, middle, and end, and there's generally people doing it. So a movie is generally about a person and a story, yeah? I can't think of many movies that aren't about story and person. Can you? Give me one if you can think of it right
One
now.
with the owls, the Guardian one.
Yeah, there's the story and character there.
Oh, it's
The owls are the characters, and the story is, aren't they trying to save their trees?
So it's terrible.
Well, no, so that's not correct. Anyone? Can anyone give me a movie that's not about, it doesn't have a story and it doesn't have characters in it? Yeah. Well, no, there's stories and characters there. You know, a documentary about, say, the Battle of Hastings is about the story of that battle and the characters of the people that were in it. Anyone else? Can anyone do it? No, it's really hard. So, let's just say 99% of the time, story and character. Alright, let's move across. Whoa! How do I do that?
What about like play school?
Woo!
That has a story.
Here we go.
That half.
So the outline. Alright, so you've got your story and character. You need to be thinking about that. You now need to think about your outline. So know at least how the story ends, begins, and basically the 5 kind of major points in this movie. So before you write your screenplays, which you're going to do soon, you need to kind of know what it is you're writing about. So you guys are writing teen movies. Alright, we've watched one, you've done a review on one, you've pulled it apart, you're teenagers, so you have your whole... Wait, how old are you? 14? 13. So you've had... Some of you have had... Wait, who's 12? No.
Lucas 12, he's a little 12-y.
So some of you have had 1 year, some of you have had 2 years of being a teenager. That's a fair bit of experience. Okay, that's 2 years of playing a sport. You should be good at it. So you've got your life. Yeah, you did. So you need to know your story. You need to know your story before you start writing your screenplay. You can't just make it up on the fly. You kind of need to know. You kind of need to know what it's about. Alright, number 3. 3-act structure. This is important. Alright, this is what I'm going to be looking at when I look at your screenplays. So, basically you've got 3 acts. Remember we talked about at the start? Yes. Movies may have 3 acts. Generally we can call them beginning, middle and end. Okay, but there's 3 parts of a movie. Distinct parts of a movie. Let's go back to, do you want to go back to Harry Potter? You seem to know it.
No.
Well, think of a movie. Let's see.
Harry Potter.
Lord of the Rings.
Harry Potter.
Alright, Harry Potter. Alright, Harry Potter 1. Okay, 3-act structure. So, first act, we meet this boy, don't know what he's about, okay? He's young, we know he's raised by his auntie and uncle or whatever, so we meet this kid, okay? And then he goes to this school. So that's your first act. Second act, he's at the school, he's learning magic, all this stuff is happening. Ooh, something bad's happening. Ooh, we have to solve this bad mystery problem, whatever it's going to be. That's your second act. And your third act
There's a dragon.
is them solving that problem. Okay, they band together, they work together, they fight the bad guy, and they win. That's your 3-act structure. So most movies have that system. Even the terrible ones. Let's go Arnold Schwarzenegger and Predator. Alright? First one, alien comes down. Second one, get to the chopper. You know, they've got to... I just wanted to say that quote. You know, the alien comes down and they fight it, and then the third act is trying to kill the alien, and then everyone's happy. Okay? And I'm definitely going to use that quote. So, original voice. Get to the chopper. I'll put it on the blog. Alright, original voice. So, clear and concise writing is the key. Keeping action description at 4 lines or less, but the action should still sound original. So, what it's saying here is you need to be clear in your writing. So, if there's a car scene, a car chase, okay, try and keep it very descriptive, but not have huge amounts of text. So, you're going to describe this car chase in about 1 paragraph. Okay, what's happening, what you're seeing. It's going to be clear. Screenplay 4, we're going to look at. It has to be written in a certain way. Okay, so just like you do an English essay, okay, just like you write a play for the stage, okay, screenplays have a distinct kind of setup and how they look. They're formatted in a certain way, so we'll look at that in a second. Okay, alright, what happens next? So all scenes must move the story forward, reveal character or both. Okay. So basically, if you're writing a scene and it goes nowhere, get rid of it. Shouldn't be there. Movies shouldn't have a scene that doesn't go anywhere. Okay.
What do they do? It's just like a scene where someone.
But what's the point of it then? Every scene, yeah, but it shouldn't be there. It should be cut. So every scene.
Tell that to Twilight.
Every scene. In a good movie, Josh, that's what we say, good movie. every scene in a good movie should be there for a reason. Okay? If it's not moving the story forward, if something doesn't happen from it, you don't need it. Why are you watching it? You're wasting time. Okay? You're wasting money. Short scenes. So screenplay must be fast. Alright, so you should have only a few pages for your different scenes as well. Okay, you want to be nice and quick, you want to be able to read it. Brief dialogue, okay, it's a visual medium, so basically you only want to have a little bit of what they're saying. And under 120 pages.
Twilight didn't do
Alright, so your screenplay should be under 120 pages. So hopefully no one here is thinking about writing a 121 page screenplay. Bear in mind, that's for a 2-hour movie. 120 pages, Joshua, is for a 2-hour movie. You basically got, for a 90-minute movie, you've got about 90 pages. For your movie, which is going to be about 5 minutes, I'd be expecting something like 10 pages, possibly 5.
I thought you said it was going to be 10 minutes long.
I'll keep changing. Alright, so, finally you've got know the log line. Does anyone know what a log line is? Sometimes it's called a tagline. No? You've never heard of a tagline before?
In one sentence, you must be able to explain
Alright,
the stories about
when you watch
Twilight.
Superman, it would have had a tagline. The original one did anyway. The Christopher Reeves one, the good one. The tagline or the log line for that was, I think, "You will believe a man could fly." Basically, you give it this one line kind of summary of the movie without giving the movie away. It's a how can I put it in words that you'll understand? It's like a little sexy introduction kind of thing to make you want to watch it.
Joshua.
So, does anyone know the tagline to any movies? Yeah.
One to Australian version of He Knows No Fear.
Yeah.
He knows nothing.
There you go.
Twilight.
Does anyone have another one?
I know what you do. I know what you do.
Joshua,
Jesus.
you're right next to the microphones. Does anyone know any other? Does anyone know any other taglines, log lines for any movies?
It's my shoes. Oh, it's my shoes.
I think that's illegal.
Five.
But it's a job.
Anyone know anything? Sorry? Is it?
Oh, he's just reading himself.
No. The tagline is actually written. So the tagline is written down. It's mostly on the movie poster, okay, and it sums up that movie. Alright, I'll bring some up in a second and I'll show you a few more. Alright, so what does a screenplay actually look like? We've talked about it, so I'm going to actually show you what one is. So, you should know this. Okay, this is Napoleon Dynamite. This is a screenplay for Napoleon Dynamite. This is actually the last few scenes. So we've watched this movie, so you should know this. So look how it's structured. We'll talk about this in a second. So, we're at page 99. Alright, that's scene 174. Alright, Uncle Rico. With 3 weeks of my product, you're gonna be about here. That's the bit where he puts the... Yeah? Don't have to say it? Excellent.
Yeah.
Alright, well look, it actually tells you. Uncle Rico grabs 2 larger pots from the rack and proceeds to hold these over Starla's chest. Door slam. Rex appears. Uncle Rico frozen and looks back at him. Alright, that was that scene. Done. So now we're moving on to the next scene, 175. Interior high school auditorium day. Pedro is still at the microphone. His forehead is sweaty. He wipes it. Pedro, a great FFA schedule lined up, and I'd like to see more of that. Alright, that's the end of that scene. Next scene, exterior Rex's house, day. Sounds of pots crashing, Uncle Rico getting beat up. Alright. Next scene, interior, offstage, room, day. Napoleon looks around, he scratches his head, beat. He pulls out a cassette tape from his Walkman, he looks down at it, beat. He looks out towards the stage. Are you visualising what we saw the other week? Yeah. So notice how it is only saying exactly what you see. It's literally describing the movie. Okay. As we keep on going, interior high school auditorium day. Pedro still stands giving his speech. Pedro, if you vote for me, I can't do the accent. If you vote for me, all your wildest dreams will come true. Thank you. All right. The audience claps, leaps energetically. Pedro walks backstage. Interior backstage day. Napoleon stands off stage, watching Pedro walk past him. Pedro looks exhausted. He's pulling off his bolo tie and unbuttoning his collar. Napoleon looks at him, lets out a deep breath. You know that one. That sounded weird. And walks away. Shut up, Gus. Principal. And now we will enjoy a skit by Pedro Sanchez. Next scene. It keeps on going. The curtains open to an empty stage. Silence beat. I'll tell you what beat means in a second. The audience looks on. Napoleon slowly walks on stage. Interior sound room day. I'm going to stop in a second. The sound technician puts a cassette into the tape player. He hits play. Interior high school auditorium day. Napoleon turns and faces the audience with his hands in his pockets. Beat. Dance music plays. The dance music beat increases. In sync with the beats, Napoleon begins to dance. The audience is silent. Blah, 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 blah. Okay? That's your screenplay. This is the screenplay of the whole last bit of that movie. This is where it ends. To fade out, end of the movie. Alright? So let's have a quick look at what they've done here. Because you've seen this movie, which is why this is the good screenplay. So, first up, what do we see here?
Unbelievable.
So, Uncle Rico is talking. Okay? So you can see, whenever anyone talks in a screenplay, they have his name. They have the character's name in capitals. Up the top there. Okay? This is the character talking. Now, this is exactly what he says. There's no quotation marks, there's none of that kind of stuff. You don't need it. Because this is a screenplay, and this is the format that it's in, everybody knows, and you do now too, that if you've got Uncle Rico or a character's name in capitals, then in the center here you've got this text. That means that character is saying that. Okay? So there's none of that he said, she said, like you have in a book. It literally is written. Right there, that's what he says. And then it describes what happens. So, center, we've got Uncle Rico in capitals. Here's the character. Here's what he said. Alright, and then this is what happened on screen. So, character talking, then on screen, what is happening. Alright? And then you can see here. So, Uncle Rico grabs 2 larger pots from the rack and proceeds to hold them over Starla's chest. You saw that. You saw Uncle Rico grab those 2 pots down, he goes over Starla, puts them over her chest, and then you see Rex appear, and you see Uncle Rico is frozen, and he looks back at him. Like, that's exactly what that scene is. Okay? So that's how you write a screenplay. So you have all your character dialogue with the character's name in capitals, so you know the character speaking. You then have exactly what you're going to see on the scene. Alright? And then they've got these things here. So we've got scene 175, interior. We've got scene 176, exterior. This is actually saying where we are.
So it's like inside a room.
Yeah, we've got, it's inside, it's at the high school, it's the auditorium, and it's daytime. So it's telling you where we are. So each time we have a new scene, it says where that scene is. Okay, we've got exterior, interior, and it tells you exactly what's going on. Alright, and then it has, obviously, the dialogue and what's happened. Does that kind of make sense? Because you guys can visualize this movie, because we only saw it last week, does that kind of make sense of what we're going? If I go to the very end, this is the very end of this movie, okay? So you can kind of remember this. Remember the end, little montage. So this is what happens. Exterior park day. So we know, alright, this scene, when it cuts to this scene at 187, we're outside, we're at a park, and it's daytime. Alright, Fred? Remember that scene? Then this is what we see. This is exactly what we're seeing right now on this scene. We're seeing white translates cake reads in frosting Presidente Pedro. I can't even pronounce that word, I'm not going to try. A piece is pulled out. Sorry? Who knows Spanish here? I mean, technically I'm Spanish, I can't say the word. Felicidades? I don't know. I'm going to give it up. Anyway, so you saw that scene with the cake. Alright, Pedro stands behind a plastic table full of food. He's surrounded by family members, Carlos 1 and 2. They all eat cake and pat him on the back. He brings a big piece of cake up to his mouth and bites it. That's exactly what you saw. Okay? Then the next scene, exterior Napoleon's house. Tina Lama eats the food. And this is the very last scene. Do you guys remember this very, very last? It was touching. It was emotional. I know some of you boys welled up and you tried to hide your emotions.
Kiss.
Sorry?
There was no kiss.
Yeah, but he cooked her a delicious bass. So this is the very, very last scene. Scene 189. Very, very last scene of the entire movie. Alright, we know where it is. Exterior, high school, basketball court, day. We know that. We saw that. Napoleon is alone playing tetherball. His Walkman and tin-foiled fish are on the ground. So that's exactly, again, it's that specific. It tells you what is there. Okay? Now, it doesn't say there are 4 trees behind him and there's birds flying in the background. You don't need that because it doesn't matter. Why it's saying there's a tin-foiled fish and he's walking on the ground is because they're important parts of this story. We know about the Walkman. He carried it everywhere. Alright, and then Deb walks up, Napoleon stops, they look at each other. Napoleon, I caught you a delicious bass. That's why I talked about the fish, because the fish is there. They had to mention it. Because if they didn't mention that that there was a fish sitting there, this wouldn't make any sense. What do you mean he's cooked a delicious bass? All right. And then Deb smiles at Napoleon, and then Napoleon says, "Want to play me?" And then that's the end of the movie. Deb smiles at Napoleon. Napoleon swings the tetherball. They play tetherball, and the camera slowly zooms out.
What about
Yeah,
the
and-
end scene after the credits?
I haven't put that in there, but they'll have that as well. So, does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Yeah? It basically tells you exactly what you're seeing on the movie. Alright? So, let me try and do this with an image. Let's see if this makes some sense. Alright? So, we talk about formatting. I'm going to look at it a bit more, but let's just watch this for now.
Yeah.
Second, screenplays are usually written in size 12 Courier because it's a monospace font that's really easy to read. And, let's face it, we don't want people writing screenplays in Comic Sans. Some screenwriters include transitions such as cutting or fading at the beginning of scenes, but you don't have to. This is usually signified by the slugline, sometimes called a scene heading. You're going to need one of these at the beginning of every scene. In a slugline, INT tells us that the scene is indoors, and EXT tells us that it's outside. It's also customary to include the location and time of day in your
So, we
slugline.
saw all that
This
already.
is the action, sometimes called the big print, which is always written in the present tense, as though it's happening right now.
So, that's your action. We talked about that. So, like you said there, the action is the present tense. The action is exactly what's happening right now. Alright, that's how you write your action. What's happening right now. Okay, Luca?
Sure.
Awesome. Let's keep going.
When you're writing action, keep in mind you can only include what the viewers can see on the screen. Screenwriters usually capitalise the name of characters, and there are some who also capitalise sound effects and important props as well. When you're writing dialogue, it's important to have the character's name capitalised and justified like this. Dialogue itself should be indented and written beneath the name of the character. Parentheticals allow you to show a character's emotions, and sometimes they're used for showing an action in the middle of dialogue as well. When you launch subtext, click on the fill button.
I'll pause it there because I don't think we're going to use that one this time. Alright, so that is what a screenplay, how it's formatted. Okay? I'm not going to be as pedantic and get you guys to go and do it exact, though if you can, that would be awesome. Alright, so before we get you started on this, how to format a screenplay. So this screenplay is how you write a screenplay. So that's very meta. Alright, let's have a look. So here we go. First page of a screenplay. Alright, let's get out of that. Alright, do the thing right. Yes, okay. Alright, first page of a screenplay. So you've got the title, obviously, what the name of your movie is going to be. Now, in most cases, when people write the screenplay, they haven't thought of the movie yet. So Harry Potter probably was Harry Potter 1. Okay, they haven't thought of the name of that movie yet. Okay, like Star Wars was just called Star Wars for ages until they figured out a cool, catchy name. So you'll have the name of whatever your movie may be. Okay, just there. Then the person who wrote it. If it's based off a book, you'll have that there too. But yours is not going to be based on a book. It's going to be based on your lives. And then that's just the address down there. So that's your first page of your screenplay. All right? Woo. Wow, this is really specific. Here we go. All right. Then we've got your first page. First page, you have your very first scene. So you have one, because it's your first scene. All right? And then you have where that scene is. So if I was going to write a screenplay for this class right now, I would have 1, interior, B3, day. Okay? And then I would talk about the action. An incredibly handsome man is standing in front of the class talking about screenplays. The class looks on in awe at his manliness and laugh constantly at his jokes because he's such a funny guy. Okay? So that's the action. Gus Jones is in the corner also laughing at the jokes, pretending like she's doing her work. So that's the action. That's what's happening right now in this class. Okay? And then you would go into the dialogue if there was any. Then you would probably have here, Daniel Garcia, Clay, stop playing with your iPad. And then I would have Clay, but I'm not playing with my iPad. And then the action would be Clay is clearly playing with his iPad. Okay, so that's your dialogue. Alright, so that's how you do it. And it's saying here, the font to use is Courier 12 point. Again, you know how we talked about conventions? Alright, the conventions of a thing. Screenplays are generally, that didn't work. Written in Courier 12 font because it's easy to read. Clay. Says Mr. Garcia as Clay sits there playing with the table in a strange way. Courier 12! Alright, let's move on. Yes, that's exactly right. So Luca asked about the font. So Courier is the font, 12 is the size. Alright? So when you guys write your screenplays, remember I'm marking these as well, I don't want to see, Comic Sans 58 point.
What's the point behind it?
Sorry?
Period 12, what's that?
Point is size. Okay, so then as we keep on going, so this is our action, this is saying what's happening. Alright. Characters' names, remember, characters' names are always in capitals and it's always in the center. Alright? And then we move on. So, for your screenplays, I'm not going to go too crazy and ask you to do camera zooms in, camera zooms out, all that kind of stuff. But that's what a screenplay does. It says where the cameras are moving. What I want for your screenplay is literally this. I want you to have your scenes, so I know where you're going to be filming. So remember, when you do this, you're on your own. So I want to know where you're filming. I want to know what's happening. So what action is happening here. And then I want to know your characters. So your character's name and what they're saying. And that's it. Alright? That's your screenplay. So you can have a look through this and you can see how it works. You'll also see this one. This is a new one that you haven't seen before. So, we're talking about Dora here. This is not gonna, you're going to laugh at this. You're such a pain, Dick. Dixie's name. For those. Okay, but can you see the difference here? Alright? You're such a pain, Dick. Alright? That didn't work because I said it like angrily and I put emphasis on the dick. Again, it's a name, parents. So what they've got here, lads, ladies, what they've got here is in parentheses or in brackets, they're actually saying how this person is saying it, which is really important. Because now it's like, you're such a pain, Dick. Alright, completely different.
That's a little sexual there.
Completely different to, you're such a pain, Dick. Alright, completely different. Can you see how adding that up there changes the way it is said, yeah?
How about you change it?
Yeah, maybe we should change
Okay,
the name.
so, lads, ladies, so you need to make sure you do that as well. If someone's angry, if someone's yelling, you put it in brackets, alright, before the text. Because it changes the way, you're so entranced with that gust in the eye over there, aren't you, Harry? You put it in brackets, because it changes the way it will sound. And it will change the way your story works. Okay, so sweetly, happy, shy, giddily, I don't know, all those words, you use those as well. Okay, and also you can see it here. When we've got some talking here, where did you go? Calling. So again, he's going, where did you go? And he's calling it out. As opposed to when you talk to someone, oh, where'd you go? Okay, so you need to do that as well. Does that make sense? Alright, excellent. So, it's a little more detailed. I've got a lot more information here, but we're not going to worry about all this detail. Alright, we're nearly there. So, screenplay abbreviation. So this is kind of the stuff that you can put in there. Alright, you've got things like long shot, medium shot, extreme close-up, close-up. What do you think I'm referring to with these?
Camera shots.
Cameras, exactly. Okay, so remember, the screenplay is saying exactly what you see. So if the camera zooms all the way in to Harry's face right now, right in there, alright, you say that. You say, camera zooms into Harry's face! And we see that amazing curly white smile. And amazing head of hair. So you say what the camera is doing. But for your screenplay, I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, because at this moment, I'm pretty sure you have no idea what your cameras are going to be doing. Alright, we're nearly done. So, this is what we're doing. This is going to take probably a couple of weeks. And by weeks, that's only like 2 lessons for you guys, okay? So, this is what we need to do to move forward, okay? Remember, we're all moving forward together. So, if some of you don't do the little bits of work, you're going to be left behind and you're going to have to kind of catch up. So, starting in 2 minutes, you will be writing a screenplay. So hopefully by now you have a rough idea of your movie, kind of what you want to be doing. Okay?
I have a question about
Fire away, says Garcia.
where we're allowed to sell.
We'll talk about it in a second. Alright, so you need to basically think about your movie. You've got the idea. So this is what you're doing. Now you have seen some real movie screenplay examples. You've watched how it's put together and you know the steps. Yeah? We've done all that just now today. So, what you need to do first is think of an idea. What is your movie going to be about? What is the premise of this movie going to be? Alright? So, the only, I guess, I'm not going to edit you, I'm not going to censor you, but the only kind of guide I'm going to give you with this premise of the movie, alright, is one, it needs to be a teen movie. Okay? Which means you need to focus on the things that we talked about the past few weeks that revolve around teenagers. So you're not going to write a movie on aliens. Unless they're teenage aliens and they're dealing with issues, I don't know. Okay? So it's got to be around that teen movie kind of idea. We talked about the teen movie stuff, remember guys? It's around school, it's around dating, it's around, you know, your first kiss and la la la. Awkwardness, growing up, lads, not listening to teachers, stuff like that. Okay, so that's your premise. That's the only info I'm giving you. It needs to be a teen movie. Okay, that's from me. Also, I'm sure I don't have to say this. It needs to be G-rated.
Man, I was gonna have some like.
Whoa!
That's a
How are you?
have.
Clay, Josh, how are you? What are you possibly going to show that could be R-rated? I don't want to know what's in your tiny minds. Yes. Yeah, no. So, guys, by G-rated.
Oh, stop yelling.
By G-rated. There can't be any, guys. There can't be any colourful metaphors, okay? But you guys are creative young people, all right? You can allude to this kind of stuff, you know. I mean, it's a teen movie, so there's no doubt there's going to be romance involved. Josh, I'm looking at you. So I can't have you passion on screen, but Josh, wow, you got some guys there, really.
Get off me.
But what you can do, so you know, Josh and Clay here, this is what we could do, you know, so we can't have passion. But Josh and Clay, alright, they look in each other's eyes, alright, deeply into it, and then they move closer, and then they move closer, and then it fades to black.
I'm not homosexual. I'm not homosexual, so that wouldn't count.
Alright, so guys,
You're making me seem like something.
Josh, so you can allude to stuff. Alright, you don't necessarily need to show everything. Leon, what do you...
Can we like have like references to like they can like wake up in a bed together?
Leon, this is a teen movie based on your lives. I don't think you're getting that lucky right now. Okay? So, no. We're not doing that. So, guys, it needs to be G-rated. It needs to be realistic, Leon. Not going to happen, my friend. No. It's based on your lives as 13-year-olds. 13, 14-year-olds. Alright, it needs to be realistic. Basically, you need to be able to show this movie to your parents, to Mr. Deere, and they're going to be cool with it. If they're not going to be cool with it,
have fun with that.
if they're not going to be cool with it, it's not right. Now, here's the trick, though. You're marked on these movies. So if you spend all this time and you put something together that I don't think is G-rated, you will fail that entire movie. All your work will be null and void. It is fair, because you know...
Play school.
Guys, it's important. I've given you what you need to do. I've given you your restrictions. So if you film some, it could be this amazing piece of French cinema. Alright, you've got these amazing camera angles, but it's totally like you're all stark as nude. Then I can't watch it. Alright, so you have no movie to show. So, they're my rules. Alright? I'm not going to come around, I'm not going to go and tell you to change stuff. Alright, if you're really keen on doing something, I'm not going to change what you need to put in your movies. Alright, I'm not going to edit you.
It's not, you're not
Josh, I'm not going to edit you, I'm not going to tell you to change stuff. Alright, I want you to be... Hold on one sec, Fred. I want you to be free. I want you to be expressive. I want you to talk about your own feelings, your own ideas. Okay. Remember, this you can talk about. Fitting in. You can talk about bullying. You can talk about romance. You can talk about if you have problems at home, all that kind of stuff. This is your way to express that. All right. So I don't want to edit you, but you need to stick to that G kind of rating. All right. And you should be smart enough to know what that is. You should know. Actually, you know what? This is probably pushing the limits. Okay? So, I'm going to trust you.
I have a compromise.
I'm going to trust you with that. There is no compromise. What I say... No, let's just pretend... Basically, guys, let's just pretend that whatever I say now... Guys, let's just pretend that whatever I say now has or else at the end of it. Okay? Let's just leave it at that. So, it needs to be G-rated or else. Okay? You need to be able to show it to your parents, you need to be able to show it to your peers, you need to be able to show it to your teachers. And they can accept it. Alright, let's move on. So, 2 questions, then we're moving on because I want to start on this. Rose. We're not talking about that just yet. So, you need to figure out your premise. You then need to, figure out your story, obviously. What's your story going to be about? Your characters, what characters are going to be in your movie, what's their intentions, what are their stereotypes, are you going to have the geek, the jock, alright, the pretty girl, all that kind of stuff. The location, where are you going to film this? Alright, so, gentlemen,
That's amazing.
guys, listen please. So, we have a pretty good area to film here, being this place. All right, you've got classrooms, you've got the bush, so you've got ovals, you've got all the stuff. We also have, if you see me, we also have a house, okay, that we can use. No, it's owned by us, and there's no one there right now. So we have a house. So we can work around that as well, filming around that house. So there should be all the scenes that you need. We've got school, we've got sports, we've got outside, we've got a house. Okay? And you're smart people, you can make up the rest. And that's it. That's what you're doing. So, in the iBook I made for you, okay, please go back, have a look at this stuff, have a look at what you need to do, have a look at how a screenplay is structured, okay, watch that video again. I also have for your viewing pleasure, I actually have the entire screenplay for Wreck-It Ralph, which I will allow, and you can actually go and read the entire Wreck-It Ralph screenplay, okay? Which is 114 pages.
Why would you want to do that?
So you can see exactly, look at it go. That's the entire movie.
Oh, well, that was quick.
And, yeah, it's in 114 pages. Well, you can read it. So that's in your book as well. All right. Question time, one at a time. This is your only chance to ask questions before we move on, because it's now recorded in stone. What are your questions? Let's go. Yes?
For the groups and things, are we allowed to have like guest stars? Like, so even if you have a group, you have like extra.
We haven't even talked about groups yet. Fred?
So, if it's, can it be 10 minutes and 10 pages, or does it have to be a bit over that?
If you make a 10-minute movie, I'll be very impressed.
Oh, sweet.
Really? What if it's M?
We already talked about that, Luca. I'm not going to dignify that with a response. Any other questions? Yes?
I'm simple like what we have to do, like what is this?
You are making a teen movie. We looked at. So guys, come on. We looked at it. We've seen a teen movie. We watched one. The first book I made for you. Pulled it apart. What characters are in this teen movie? Okay, so you could do your movie based on, I don't know, a kid who is bullied at school, and people misunderstand him, but then he stands up for himself, and he doesn't change his values and opinions, and people then respect him for that. Alright? You know, that's what you could do. Does that make sense? That makes sense? Excellent. Alright, any other questions? Alright, this is how we're going to do it. This is how we're going to structure it. This is the tricky part. Now, because there are so many of you, obviously, and I know all of you want to have other people in your movie, okay? So I tried this last time, and unfortunately, that doesn't work, Okay, I can't let you all work in giant groups and make your own movies. This is what we're going to do. Everybody makes a movie. So every single person here is going to make their own movie because everyone's writing a screenplay for their own movie. Okay? So you're all doing this individually. But how we're going to do it is you will pick 3 other people. So we'll have, say, a group of 4. Those 4 people all have their own movies. Completely different. They all have their own screenplays. Completely different. But what you're going to do is when you film your movies, those 4 people are going to be the people that are in your movie. Okay? And that's it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How will we have time to film all 4?
Yeah, that's
Because you're working together. So you 4 will be working together and you have to figure out, alright, I'm going to film this scene, you're going to film this scene, I've got a bit of the Oval. Do you have something at the Oval? Yeah, alright, we'll film all our scenes at the Oval. So you've got a group of 4 making 4 individual movies. So I would strongly suggest that, as much as it sounds very primary, boy, girl. Alright, 2 guys, 2 girls. This is going to be a lot easier to make your movies. Unless you want to wear wigs and dresses, that's cool, that's fine, I'm for that. But I would suggest, guys, to make this easier, that you do have 2 girls, 2 guys in a group of 4. Alright? It'll make things much quicker, much easier. Your characters are there. Does that all make sense? Okay, so let me recap and then you're on your own. So, you are doing your screenplay on a teen movie that you are figuring out the premise for. It's your teen movie. Alright, last term I had some really good stuff, okay? I had people talking about bullying, okay, and it was their way to speak out about it. I had people talking about, family issues they were having at home and how it was affecting them, okay? The good thing with a movie is it's not you saying, this is my problem, you know what I mean? You can make other people be aware of this and, you're kind of hidden. It's a really cool way to speak out about things without actually having to stand in front of everyone and speak out, okay? So this is your opportunity. You could have a movie about a kid at school and he's just buried by homework and how it is really affecting his life and he can't do sport anymore and it's making him really depressed and teachers aren't listening to him. You can do that, okay? You might really like a certain special someone, alright, and you feel that you haven't got the courage. You haven't got the courage to, speak up and say, hey, you know what, you're a special lady. Maybe you can use your movie as a way of talking about how, as teenagers, you guys and girls do that. How do you actually, how do you ask somebody out? I'm going to hold your hand. How do you do that? Okay, you can write a movie about that. Alright, you might want to write a movie about anything. Sport, you're really into sport, yet, for some reason you're never picked for the teams, no one sees you for how you are, all that kind of stuff. Alright? That's what you're doing. So, write your premise, needs to be G-rated. Okay, that's the most important one. You have 4 people that you will choose to have in your group. I would choose people you can work with, so I'm guessing this probably won't happen. People you can work with, because if in that group of 4, one of those people decides, you know what, I'm not going to turn up. Maybe Leon's about to film his big scene, but Josh is like, no, I'm not coming, man. Then you've lost that character. Josh's movie suffers because of somebody else. Leon's movie might suffer because someone else doesn't pull their weight. So you need to work together. So, it's on you. Alright? It's on you. So, group of 4. 4 individual movies, 4 individual screenplays, etc., etc. That's it. I'm done. Any questions?
I'm tired.
Any questions? Finally, before you begin, I should say, what you should do for your screenplay. If you log into the map, if you go into Pages, there is actually a screenplay template on there. You go File, New, and you have a screenplay template, which I'll show you right now. No, on the computer. All right. So if I go into Pages, I'll quickly show you how you do it. So Pages here. You go to. Let's just do that. All right. File, and you've got up here. This is hard to do from the screen. New from Template Chooser, and if you go in here, there is actually a template that is a screenplay. If I can find it. So then you've got screenplay. So you click that sucker, it's all done for you. You just fill in the blanks. Okay, there's your description. You type it in. Only on pages on the computers, ladies, not on the iPads.
That's not in any language that knows human beings.
It is actually. So guys, so you can see here, if you tap in action, lads, I haven't asked you to move yet, Kai. If you tap in the action there, it'll then actually let you fill that in. Okay, character name, type that in, fill it in as you go. Character name, wearily, off you go. Okay, so that's all ready for you. So that's it. You know the rules, you know the limitations, you're quite free to do a lot of stuff here. Let's go.
You said you could get
Have you finished your film review though?
Yeah, with like,
Cool, that's all I need. I'll sort it out.
Did you get my email?
No.
Or is it still marked under the Joshua?
Probably. Oh, in the junk folder. Probably.
Because I said.
No, I didn't get it.